I think if we focus on looking at the tourist or visitors number of the few countries you just mentioned, I think we are forgetting to look at actually the other benefit of tourism. Because tourism should not be measured by looking at one indicator. We should also look at the contribution in terms of job creation. We could look at another key indicator, which is beyond only the arrivals, food, production, the whole value chain. So if we focus only on those numbers, I think we should be looking at a bigger picture. Tourism is not just all those numbers we see.
Right.
We need to look at broader than that, yes.
So in a sense, you're trying to say that the first mistake has always been looking at the numbers.
Yes.
All of us trying to compete or outcompete the other on the number of tourists that we bring in.
Correct.
And so how then do we ensure that, you know, beyond just looking at the numbers, then the real impact is being felt on the ground as far as, you know, the beneficiaries are concerned?
We need to look at how we measure tourism. I think if you only focus on looking at only the arrivals, you are missing the big picture, as I mentioned. Second, our policy, tourism policy in Africa, and in generally, I would like to maybe specifically say about East Africa, if our policies are not designed to resolve some of our development challenges, then when we look at the aspect of contribution, we fail to actually measure the whole, to see the picture. Let me give you just, for instance, an example. If we talk about job creation, I would like to know, is it a significant job? Are we looking at increasing and adding value to the life of our communities, our youth, creating the jobs which will last and also be adapted and resilient? So tourism should just not be looking at revenue from tourism, but also look at the whole value chain. Are we adding value to our production? Are we adding value to our product? Are we adding value to our preservation of our culture, our heritage, our natural resources? That's how we should be measuring tourism.
That's how we should be measuring tourism. Yes. And you bring in a very important aspect here, that we have always seemed to be putting the cart ahead of the horse. You know, when coming up with products, when coming up with campaigns, we seem to, you know, not really answer directly or be pushed by the problem on the ground when we're coming up with these packages. And in the end, you know, whatever products that are coming up are not really answering to these specific challenges. So then how, if you had the ear of those who are actually formulating these policies, then what would you be advising them to do?
I would like to remind everybody that last year we actually celebrated, the theme of last year when we were celebrating tourism was sustainable tourism. So we cannot talk about sustainable tourism if we don't look at the holistic, all the value, all the 17 goals of sustainable tourism. You know, poverty, education, welfare, women, planet, all the resources we need to look at. So the product development should not only be focused on one specific target market. We need to diversify. If we have examples of countries like Kenya, and which has been a safari destination, you cannot keep selling the same product for 5 decades. That's why we see Kenya pushing for leisure, mice, the same for Rwanda. We need to really look at how we package our destinations competitively. We are not alone. There are other destinations coming up and then aggressively marketing their product and developing the product. And this year we're talking about digital transformation. We are in the era where consumption of our product and our services is already purchased before the guests arrive in your destination. And access to information is universal now and very open to everybody. So we need to change the way, the game we have been playing, and then adapt as quickly as possible.
Right. You say it's open to everyone, digitalization. But of course, I may not be able to agree with you on that, because at the end of the day, we have people who are not able to actually access this. But how then do we ensure that we don't leave anybody behind? Much as we want to make tourism, which has always been seen as a leisure, as a high-end activity, how then do we not leave out communities? How do we ensure that everybody is actually on board when we are talking tourism and development of our countries through tourism?
We should not leave anybody really behind, because there's the markets and there are those who are providing the service and the product. And usually we are the receiving end where we actually provide the service and the quality, and then we ensure that a product is competitive. So when I said it should be everybody's business, because if you are the mama mboga producing and then supplying your fruits or your eggs and chickens to the lodge around the national park, The park fees should really relate to you in terms of water, roads, education to your children. So tourism should not just be for those who only come to enjoy the service. And all of us, actually, East Africans, we should be asking, where is the money from tourism going? And solve the issues at the household level. We should not be looking at the big projects. Yes, money from tourism built the roads. Money from tourism built the school. But I would like to ask, what kind of school? What is the quality of the teacher in the classroom? What curriculum are we talking about?
It should go beyond just this big project.
Exactly, yes.
Tell me something, maybe before I let you go. The African Union is actually also putting, tourism at the forefront of the reforms that are actually going on right there. What we know is that in its first 10 years implementation plan for 2014 to 2023, the African Union is actually seeking to double tourism sector's contribution to the continent's GDP by 2023, and of course they're targeting $338 billion. And I want to know from you, do you think this is a far-fetched plan? How then can they actually achieve this if they were to be able to hear you speak today?
I would like first of all to say that the market is here on the African continent. Let's first make it easy for us to travel and discover Africa. If I have to process 15 to 20 days to have a visa to enter into any African countries, then this is the issue African Union should resolve. Access, whether it's by air, by road, by waterways, we need to open our borders. I think this objective is not really, it doesn't mean that it's not realistic, but we need to put our house in order, and the African Union has ambitious plans to resolve those questions, but at the regional level and at each country, we need to solve those issues.
We need to solve those issues. Thank you so much, Carmen, for